Okay. All right, so we'll get started here. Thank you all for joining us on our ReEnergized webinar today. I'm glad you could all make it. So today we'll be talking about clean energy. We'll explore some clean energy related projects here in Canada as well. And we'll look a little bit at the future of electric vehicles as well. Okay. All right, and before I get into it, I would like to go over a quick land acknowledgement to acknowledge the land that I'm presenting to from today. So I'm presenting from the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, Mississaugas of the Scugog Island, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, which is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I would also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Okay, so a bit about me. I am Maria, the Environmental Education and Engagement Coordinator here at Green Learning. And so for those of you who haven't heard of Green Learning before, we are an organization that provides students and teachers just like yourselves with tons of free online educational programs on clean energy, climate change, and the green economy. They're all designed to be very, very interactive and engaging. And our goal is to kind of empower students like yourselves to create a positive change for our world. Okay. So because we're going to be talking lots about clean energy today, I did want to pass it over to you before I get started, and I just want to hear from you. And I would like you to tell me what you think of when you hear the words clean energy, what comes to mind. There are no right or wrong answers over here, so just whatever you kind of think of. So feel free to unmute yourselves if you would like. I will put up a timer here for about a minute. And yeah, you can send your responses into the chat, just whatever you think of when you hear clean energy. Okay, we have some answers. Yeah, Tesla or electric vehicles in general, renewable energy sources like solar energy, that's a good one. Can you think of any other renewable energy sources? Energy that doesn't harm the environment. Peaceful energy. I like that. That's really good. Definitely. It's very clean and sustainable. Yeah, energy that doesn't pollute the environment.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other thoughts they wanted to share before we continue on? Oh, it doesn't leave a footprint. Yeah. Doesn't leave that carbon footprint, right? Nice. Okay, so if you do come up with anything else, feel free to send it into the chat. But we're going to go ahead. So I do have this riddle over here that I put in. So this is going to be the answer over here is going to be the first renewable energy source that we're going to talk about. So if you can guess what this is, send it into the chat below. So it says, I have no wires, yet I bring light to the dark. When you harness me, I'll make your home spark. What am I? Does anyone have any thoughts? What renewable energy source we're going to talk about first? Yeah, solar energy. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so as you all might know, so solar energy is where we're harnessing the sun's heat and energy to create electricity for ourselves. And this is a really, really awesome thing to do because the sun's energy is renewable and it's infinite. We can always kind of continue using it. And so these solar panels that I'm sure you've seen when you head outside or anything like that, they're made of PV cells. So they're called photovoltaic cells. They're made of silicon and they're really good at absorbing and creating small amounts of energy individually. So if you see kind of those old calculators, maybe they have the little PV cells on them. Those are what's powering up that calculator. And you'll notice that if you ever kind of cover it up, put your finger over top of it, those numbers on that calculator slowly start to fade away because the power source, that light that's powering up that little cell on there, is now gone once you've covered it. So it's no longer working. So that tiny PV cell is enough to power up that one little calculator. And then obviously if you have a wide array of them that are laid out on a panel, you're able to produce a lot more electricity and power up things like portable construction signs, emergency phones, or other things maybe in remote areas. And so this is here as an example of a really cool project that's happening here in Canada. So this is at Anaheim Lake in British Columbia. So the Okacho First Nations group is actually building the largest off-grid solar power farm in Canada. So off-grid means that it's generating and storing its own energy. It's not connected to the power grid or anything. So if we have some kind of power outage or anything, they won't be connected by it because they have their full energy independence and they're not connected to another grid. So they're all kind of producing it and storing it themselves. So this is a super cool project that's happening in British Columbia. And so this community right now currently relies very, very heavily on diesel power, which some of you might know is a very dirty and non-renewable source of energy. It's also very unreliable as well. If they run out of diesel, they don't have any power. So a solar farm like this is something that's going to reduce their reliance on that diesel by about 65%. So they'll be saving about 1.1 million liters of diesel every year, which is a pretty big amount. It's a really cool project. Construction for this has already started this year, and it's expected to be finished by fall of this year as well. So definitely a cool project to keep in mind and just kind of get some updates on and stuff as the year progresses. And then I did want to share a couple of solar power, solar energy related resources that we have on our website that are free for you to access. So you are able to kind of explore solar energy a little bit more by building a solar powered car. You can build a solar powered oven as well. So these are really cool projects, very hands-on that you can kind of get involved in and try to understand how solar energy really works. So definitely check that out. Our next form of renewable energy here that we'll be chatting about is wind energy. So this is where we're able to capture wind to produce electricity by using wind turbines. So these blades are usually connected to a spinning motor, which is connected to a generator. So you'll see over here, this image over here is a pretty good example of what it looks like on the inside. So that's the part of the windmill that you can't really see. So the blades here are connected to these motors and this generator. And as this generator spins, it produces electricity. And so when that electricity gets produced, it'll get sent down through wires that are in the windmill. So those wires will be carrying that electricity and it'll usually go to a nearby storage site to be stored and then sent out and distributed to people around the area to be consumed. Right, so these are very easy to set up. They're pretty inexpensive as well and super easy to just kind of get going. So one of the biggest projects that we have here in Ontario is this 87 wind turbine farm that's just up north, further north in Ontario from where we are in Toronto. So this is in the Henvey Inlet First Nations community. And this is a massive project that the First Nations communities are working with in partnership with a Canadian energy company. And so this site is expected to develop enough electricity to power about 100,000 homes every year, which is very impressive. And then again, these are a couple of the resources we have on our website as well that you can take a look at. You can build your own wind turbine, and we also have a wind turbine simulator, which I'll show you a little bit of in another slide in just a second. But I did want to show you the super cool wind power plant tour as well. So this is a video that's just on YouTube. It's a 360 tour that they have of this wind farm in the Middle East. And so I'm just going to mute this here. So if you don't hear anything in the video, it's all good. It's muted. I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit of this. So this guy over here comes out and then he's kind of just coming out of a wind turbine over here. This was super cool to see. And then he just kind of walks you through this whole site. And so you can kind of see over here how construction works. So this is where oops, we don't want that. So this is where they're building the base of that wind turbine. So this is where that tower part will go into. It's super cool to see that. About 110 workers on site, you can see. Then you can also see how far apart each of the wind turbines are actually placed as well. It's kind of hard to get an idea of how big this is when you see it just like on the road while you're driving by. So it's super cool to kind of get this visual. So that's how big they are. And then I did also want to show you just how long each of these turbines are as well, right? So this is just one of the kind of blades that are on there. And so it starts right here, goes all the way down here, and then you'll see that it's just kind of being built. And this is that head area over here where the generator and the motor and all those things will go. So super cool. Definitely check that out if you do have time. It's on YouTube. It's the Wind Farm Construction 360 VR video. And then this is the wind turbine simulator that we have on our website. So this is another free resource for you to check out, very interactive. And this will give you a sense of how things like direction of wind and the speed of wind will affect the turbine and how much electricity it's able to produce. So you can kind of play around with the wind speed over here, see how much energy or how much electricity it's producing at 10 kilometers an hour, 10 kilometers, sorry, meters per second over here, versus 30, where it's like very, very windy. And then you can also kind of change the wind direction here as well and see how, if the wind direction changes, how the wind turbine kind of moves as well to capture as much energy as possible and create as much electricity as possible as well. So another cool resource for you to check out. Okay, and then we're going to move on to biomass energy. This is very, very interesting. So this is where we're using plant, wood, animal, and agricultural waste to create energy. So this is all coming from organic materials that are being broken down and burned to produce heat, making enough steam to spin a turbine and then generate that electricity. Landfills are another really great source of this biomass energy as well. There's lots of waste in landfills that's being broken down and it's creating these gases like methanol and ethanol, which are really, really great for biomass energy. And it can also be used as a really good fuel for cars and trucks and things like that as well. They burn very clean and they deliver a lot more power than gasoline would. So that's another kind of cool little fact about biomass energy there. And then I also wanted to share this cool example here. So this is in Saskatchewan in Meadow Lake. And this is actually the first biomass power facility that we have that's Indigenous owned here in Canada. And so this is super interesting because initially this site was and still is a sawmill. So a sawmill is where they're harvesting trees and logs and processing them into lumber and sending them out to the rest of the country. And so this sawmill was creating about 56,000 tons of wood waste every year for 50 years. So wood waste contains things like wood chips and bark and sawdust. So all of this waste was being created and it was being sent to this beehive burner here. So this cone-shaped building over here is where all of this wood waste would be sent into. It would be burned at very high temperatures, and then you can see just all of this pollution that's being emitted from this beehive burner just as a result of burning and trying to get rid of that wood waste. So the people who are working here decided, this is way too much waste that's being created, way too much pollution that's going out into the air and harming our atmosphere and our environment. And so they installed a biomass facility here. So now what happens is they're able to reduce their pollution levels by quite a bit. And so instead of having all of that smoke go up into the air, this plant burns the waste at a very, very high temperature. They have special systems and filters that are put in place to reduce the amount of pollutants that are actually going out into the atmosphere. And they're able to actually power up and create enough energy to power up 5,000 homes in the area. So once they've done that, there is still some waste that's left over. And so they're able to actually turn that into ash. So it's called wood ash, which they then send to farmers. The reason why they do this is because wood ash has lots of calcium and potassium in it, which is really, really good for plant growth. So this way, every single part of the tree is being used up. There's very little to no waste that's occurring as well. They've reduced their pollution levels very significantly. So it's a very, very interesting project that's here in Canada. And then this is just another kind of resource or activity that we have on our website as well. You can actually build your own model of a biogas generator. So it's a great way to kind of understand more about how that process works and learn more about renewable energy sources. Okay, so we've talked quite a bit about a couple of these kind of renewable energy and clean energy projects that we have going on here in Canada, the very large scale projects. But what are some things that we can do just at our homes or in our schools to kind of increase our reliance on clean energy and not rely too much on these fossil fuels or dirtier sources of energy. So this is a super cool kind of website that I found online. So this is from the US Department of Energy, and they've created this energy efficient house tour here, where it takes you through a home that is very, very energy efficient. It's installed with tons of different clean, renewable energy sources. So you can see that there are solar panels up here. There's this kind of awning that's coming out over here that's creating a lot more shade. So you're not necessarily maybe relying on your air conditioning as much. And then if you head inside over here, it'll show you a couple of different smart technologies that you can have installed in your homes, things that you can do in your schools as well, having higher efficiency windows and doors and things, and oops, and just making sure that you're reducing your heat loss during the winter months. And so there's a couple of different kind of smart technologies that are installed over here. If you head over to the kitchen, there's a couple appliances and things that they have that are very energy efficient. I'm very sorry if you can hear my cat meowing in the back. I had my door closed, but she's somehow gotten in. Um, but yeah, so this is a cool house tour. Definitely check that out in your spare time there. And oops. All right. So we have energy that's being produced. It obviously needs to go somewhere as well. We're not constantly using electricity and energy, so it needs to be stored somewhere once it's been produced so that it can be sent out once the kind of need for it increases. So this is where energy storage facilities become really important. And this is where we're able to kind of store energy now to be able to use it later. Batteries are another really, really great energy storage device. So you have batteries that have energy inside of them, and you can just kind of plug them into your calculators or your clocks and your games and things like that to power them up and use them for a while. So one of the examples that I have here is a penny battery activity that you can do. So you can actually build a battery using pennies. And you're able to kind of power up like little cars and things like that. So this is a project that these students have done at a local school to kind of use penny batteries to power up some stuff. So I'll show you this video here.
LED light is electric current in it. It consists of a sink washer on the bottom, and then cardboard dipped in vinegar, and then a penny. And you repeat that process over and over again. All of these were old gnomes using them. We've reused everything in here except for the electrical paint. Except for that, that's the only thing. Everything after, once you use these items in the penny battery, you can reuse them afterwards. It's sustainable because of the reusing everything, and it's not no toxic emissions.
There's tons of pennies out there that aren't in circulation anymore, so they have to be used for something.
They have to be used for something, so you can make a penny battery. And if expanded, the more pennies, the more levels you go, the higher the voltage, the higher the flow. So this could be expanded and be used as a charge phones, charge anything. You charge them. Charge it. Oh. Oh no! It's not stable yet. Come on. No, stop moving anymore. I see me one now. I want to go.
Necessary for.
Good fun.
Okay, so that's an example of those penny batteries there that some students created to power up things like cars and things like that. So this is a project that you can do just as a class as well. Super, super cool.
Sorry,
And
Maria, can you talk a little bit louder?
oh, sure, I'll just move my. Okay, is this a little better?
There, that's
Okay,
good.
great, thanks. Yeah, so we also have our electrical energy calculators. This is another great tool on our website as well that you can use to become more aware of how much energy you're really using. So you're able to kind of select the province that you're living in and enter in the number of watts that an electronic or appliance in your home is using. This is something that you can just get from a Google search, so you can see how much electricity your maybe a lamp is using or how many watts your phone charger and things like that are using. So super cool resource. And then you just enter in the number of minutes that you would typically use this appliance or electronic for. And then you can calculate your yearly energy usage, and it'll show you how much electricity it's producing every year, how many greenhouse gas emissions are being emitted every year, and the cost as well. So another cool tool to kind of become more aware of your energy usage as well. All right. So we're going to play a game of true or false over here. There's going to be a statement that comes up onto your screen. If you think it's true, put your thumbs up. If you think it's false, put your thumbs down. If you're not too sure, maybe just to the side. And teachers, you can enter the majority response into the poll that comes up onto your screen. Okay. So our first question here is hydroelectric power or water power is the most widely used renewable energy source in Canada. So is this true or false? Okay. All right, we have a false in the chat. Give you a couple more seconds here. Okay. All right, so we have some trues, we have a false. Let's see here. So this is true. So in Canada, hydropower is the largest contributor to electricity generation. So about 57.8% of our total electricity comes from hydropower. And it's actually the third largest producer of hydro in the world. So it's a pretty big form of energy production that we use here. Okay, our next question here, renewable energy sources, so things like wind, solar, and hydro can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Is this true or false? Okay, someone saying true. All right. Okay. So you would be correct. These are all energy sources that are very clean, very renewable, and they produce almost no greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, and then we have biomass. So this is what we talked about a little bit earlier. So things like wood and agricultural waste. These are things that can be used to produce clean fuel. So is this true or false? All right, we have some trues, some false. So this is actually true. So we talked about how a lot of these biomass products, so a lot of this land, things in landfills and waste and wood waste and things like that can be broken down to produce fuels like ethanol and methanol. So these are all things that are very good at kind of being processed into different biofuels and biodiesels. All right, and then we have geothermal energy comes from the sun. So we didn't quite talk about geothermal, but do you think it comes from the sun? All right. We have everyone saying false, and you would be correct. So geothermal, solar power is what comes from the sun. Geothermal is actually released from the core of the earth. So this is where we're able to kind of get some heat from the core, and they're able to kind of generate electricity through geothermal power plants. Okay, so we're going to switch gears over here and talk about electric vehicles now. So we talked about how biogas is a cleaner alternative. It can be used in fuel vehicles sometimes. Electric vehicles are another cleaner alternative to those gas-powered vehicles that we're used to. So I'll just start off by sharing some of these electric vehicle related resources that we have on our website that you can check out, all free for you to kind of use. So we do have an activity here where you can build an electric vehicle model. So this is super cool just to kind of get a better understanding of electric vehicles and how they kind of work. You can also explore the history of electric vehicles, which is always very interesting. Fun fact, the first Porsche that was ever invented was actually battery powered as an electric car. So they've been around for a lot longer than you would imagine. And then we have another resource here as well where you can plan a trip in your electric vehicle too. So lots of cool resources. Very interesting to see how today's science and modern technology can help tackle some of our environmental issues. Okay, so we did create a program as well to help students just like yourselves get involved in the electrification of transportation. So through our Electrifying the Future program, we've been able to reach lots of students and do electric vehicle conversion projects with them. So we actually piloted this back in Alberta a couple years ago. And so this is where students came across a Volkswagen Beetle from 1975 that was just kind of left abandoned in a farm. They brought that in, they restored it, and they're converting it into a gas-powered vehicle now, or sorry, an electric-powered vehicle now, which is very, very cool. And so we brought this project over here to Ontario now, where a local high school is now converting a 1999 Mazda Miata into an electric vehicle. So they're just kind of in the process of taking the car apart right now, removing things like the gas engine, which is no longer needed in an electric vehicle, and they'll be doing that conversion. So it's super cool. And another really interesting thing about this program is that there are tons of ways to be able to scale this program up or down based on the resources and things that are available to you. So we did actually also have a school that converted a bunch of golf carts that were being sent to a landfill. So they were able to bring that into their school and convert it into electric powered vehicles. You can always do this EV model as well. You can also do conversions on ATVs and ski-doos and things like that too. So tons and tons of different options out there. If you are interested in checking out more about our Electrifying the Future program and just seeing more about what we're doing and playing some kind of facts and myths games with us as well, feel free to check out this website over here. You can scan the QR code. Katie has also sent the links below as well for you. So this is a webinar where we explore electric vehicles a little bit more. We talk a little bit more about how long they've really been around for, how sustainable it is to drive them in different provinces, and how you can get involved in similar projects as well. So definitely check this out. This is more directed to those students in grades 9 to 12. So for the older audience out there. And then I did want to end off with a design your own electric vehicle challenge here. So we're going to think about designing our own electric vehicle, and there are a couple of different things you want to consider when you're doing a project like this. So some of these things are, what type of vehicle do you want to do a conversion project on? So are you going to do just a regular kind of car, sedan type car vehicle? Are you interested in doing a conversion on a snowmobile or an ATV? And then you also want to think about what you're going to be using the vehicle for afterwards. So is it going to be more of a showpiece, more of something that you use personally for just kind of shorter distances, or is it going to be more used for transporting bigger equipment and things like that? So that kind of determines what size vehicle you're going to be converting. And then you also want to think about possible obstacles that you might face. So I have a couple here listed below, but you might think of others as well. So things like extreme weather. So are you doing this conversion in a climate that's very, very cold or very, very hot? Are you doing this somewhere where they have more smooth paved roads, or is it very rough terrain, very kind of dirt and gravelly and things like that? So all things to consider when you're thinking of what vehicle you want to convert. So we'll give you about 2 minutes here, I think, and you can chat with the person next to you or together as a class and come up with some ideas for a electric vehicle design. What kinds of things would you want to implement? What kind of vehicle are you going to be converting? And yeah, and then you can share your thoughts in the chat below, or feel free to unmute yourselves as well. Yeah, I can put that slide up. I think that might be more helpful. So these are just the things that you want to consider when you're designing your electric vehicle. And feel free to get as creative as you'd like as well. It doesn't have to look like the cars that we have right now on the roads. It can be completely futuristic looking, however you are interested in designing it. Okay. So I know that wasn't too much time, but hopefully this is something you can continue working on after as well. But are there some ideas that you wanted to share? Some designs and things? What are some things that you're thinking about for your electric vehicle? Any thoughts on what you would want it to look like or what kind of terrain or climate you're thinking of doing the conversion for? Um, might just need a little bit of time here, maybe. So continue kind of brainstorming amongst yourselves and yeah. Okay, and then I would like to also, we do have another question here, just kind of wondering if you learned something new today and if you feel like you knew most of this already or if you kind of knew all of this as well. Oh, okay, we have an idea here. Okay, awesome. All right, so your group here would be a snowmobile for personal use in a colder climate. So you would need a backup battery in the front, storage, and main battery in the back. Okay, that's a really good idea. So I'll have a little bit of both just so that you have enough power to go longer distances, maybe. Awesome. And then when you are doing a snowmobile or a smaller vehicle, you also want to think about balancing the battery as well, because at that point, the battery will most likely be kind of the heaviest part of the vehicle, because snowmobiles are a lot lighter, they're a lot smaller. And so just kind of making sure that that battery box is balanced in the right way so that you're not kind of just spinning out of control or anything like that. Okay. Awesome. And then, so we have talked a lot about clean energy today and why it's so important and some of the things you can do just in your homes and in your schools as well. So now it's time for you all to take action on everything that you've learned today. And so this is something that you can do through our ReEnergy challenge. So you're able to build working models of solar ovens or solar cars or wind turbines and things like that. A couple of those we mentioned throughout the webinar today. You can also kind of design energy storage systems as well. And so not only will this help you become more familiar with how these things work, but you can also submit your projects into us for a chance to win up to $1,000 for your class as well. So always a really cool opportunity. And so as teachers, you can scan the QR code that's just on your screen there. The link has also been sent to you in the chat. But this is a way for you to kind of register for the challenge. These submissions are due on May 9th, so you have plenty of time to think of what project or what activity you would like to work on and submit that into us for a chance to win that prize. Then also just kind of get more familiar with clean energy and why it's so important. And then another resource we have as well is our e-cards program. So as some of you might know, it is Earth Month, and this is a really great time for you to share your messages on helping our environment, how it's important to be more sustainable, and get your message across to a much bigger audience. So through our e-cards program, you can send in a message that's important to you, either write something down, or you can draw something, become more creative, send that into us. And so not only do we post this on our website for a wider audience to see your messages, but we also try to share it with leaders and people of your choice in our country who can kind of make more, take action on some of your messages. So definitely a great way to kind of get your message and your artwork out there. So check that out as well. The link for that has been sent to you, and the QR code for this is just down there. And then I would just like to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any other questions, if you have any other ideas on your EVs and things like that, feel free to connect with us at this email address. And then we do also have this student survey as well. This just takes a couple of minutes to complete, but it's a great way for us to get a better understanding of what our webinars are like. If there's anything you really enjoyed, if there's something that you wish we had talked about a little bit more, feel free to let us know through this survey. And yeah, that'd be great. I'm glad you could all join us today. I hope you all learned something new. Do any of you have any questions or anything you wanted to share before heading out?